Hello and welcome to the Wicked Cool Kids podcast. Today we're talking to Kristin and her experience as a game master for D&D. Kristin, would you like to say hi to the audience for us, please?
Hi.
Nice. And let's start off with some basics to just warm you up here, Kristin. How long have you been playing D&D for? Give us a history of your experience.
When is it right now? I don't even know. So it's 2023, the end of.
Almost 2024.
Don't talk like that. So I started playing D&D during COVID times. So, well, kind of. I started learning about it in about March of 2020 when things started to shut down. Because my oldest wanted to play, and then he started going to a library group. They had one session, and then everything shut down, and he still wanted to play, and I knew that my husband had played previously in another life of his that he did not actually initially want to talk about. He pretended like he didn't, like it was a thing that I was imagining, and I was like, okay, but you did. It's okay to be a geek. It's all right to be a geek around me. So then I was like, all right, well, if I can figure this out, he can, like, as somebody who knows a little more about it, maybe run something so I can play with my oldest, right? And we can fulfill him in that way. And it was so overwhelming. It was so overwhelming. I joined Facebook groups. I found Handbooker Helper from Critical Role because that was recommended to me. And although it breaks it down into bite-sized pieces, it's still a little bit like you have to know a little bit before you even watch those things. But it made it a little easier. And finally I said, at this point, I'm just going to have to do it. And part of that is just me and who I am. I'm just going to have to do it in order to learn it. So towards the end of that year, maybe like autumn, I almost said fall. And I know when Lee listens back to this, he'll give me crap about it. So I changed it, but I said it anyway. Never mind. So we got I think it's the beginner's setup, whatever it is, with the teeny tiny rule set. And it was the Lost Mines of Phandelver campaign. And my oldest, my second oldest, and myself were the players, and Chet ran it for us. So the end of 2020, that was a very long answer to your question. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Between you starting then, for your eldest and Chet running, how long was it between that point and you running a game yourself?
I probably, the beginning half of 2021, I was finally confident enough to go. I bought Prepared 2, which is, I think, put out by Kobold Press. And it has a bunch of little one-shots. And I ran something called Dib's Wagon of Doom about these little goblins that run amok through town and cause a little bit of a disaster, and you have to go into their doom wagon to stop them. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember playing that one when you ran it. Were we the first time you ran it, or was that
No,
separate?
I ran it. I ran it for the kids in Chet because I'm too self-conscious to bring it to actual, like, full-fledged adults only crowd before I make an ass out of myself in front of my children, because they're used to that. And actually, because I didn't prepare things like, what are the goblins' names? And so I was like, oh, this one's name is Rick. And then another one came and they said, what's this one's name? And I said, Astley. And then they were rolling. So it was this entire Rick roll joke that I put into the kids' game. Because I am who I am. Yeah, but then I don't think I ran it for you guys until a long time afterwards, because even though I had kind of dipped my toes into the water, even now, I know that, like, even Lee has bought me things. Here, I've got this for you. Go run it. I'm like, but everybody's going to think I'm an idiot and I don't really know what I'm doing still. So I shy away from doing it because I get nervous.
Yeah, no, we're all sort of missing out because of your shyness, Kristin. Because the games I have run that you have run have been fantastic. It's been great, and also a great opportunity to for me to play with Lee. Because usually, if we're like playing games, Lee's either DM or I'm the DM. So it's nice to
Yeah.
have Lee as an option there to be a
Oh,
player
you
with.
just put that on me.
So
Okay. All right.
I mean, it's okay.
New year, new
Joe's
me.
running
Hashtag.
games as well, so I'm hoping that Joe run a few more in the new year. Give me, you, and Lee a chance to all kind of play together, because that happens very, very rarely. Has it ever happened between you, me, and Lee in a game? I can't remember if it has.
Just the Call of Cthulhu games.
Yes, but run by Tom. Yeah, but not a D&D game.
I don't think so.
Given that the point of view you like shying away from it and the goblin names, how do you approach preparation for your games when you do run them?
Oh Lord. Okay, so I've only actually ever homebrewed a one shot once, and that was highly encouraged. And it was a sassy little adventure, the pumpkin spice one shot. And I don't even want to say it was harder, because I think it was just as hard for me in different ways. Because I feel like when I go into it, I have to overdo it. And I have to, okay, well, you've got this character, but then there are also these secondary characters and tertiary characters, which I'm putting in to fill the map. And of course, they all need names too, but this one's an elf. So now I have to go look at elven names and figure out what name would suit them, because I can't just give them a name like Dawn if that's not an elven name, right? And
no
Daves
in the elven communities now.
I try to stay away from Dave in general, but yeah, I go, I think, probably overboard, because I want each person to have a unique personality on the off chance that somebody is going to talk to them. And in talking to everybody else, and even what I would do on the flip side of this conversation, if I were to be having this conversation with myself, which sometimes I do, I would always tell somebody to just do it, just wing it. But my brain puts in these barriers and I get self-conscious. And so I like to do accents and quirks and personalities and all these things to kind of individually flesh something out. And I think that's probably what makes it so overwhelming for me. So preparation is generally like months before I actually put something together. I have to print it out. I print out a one shot because I have to not only have things on my computer screen, but I have to have like pages that I've highlighted and made notes on and referenced. And I'm constantly going back and forth. And I need to real quickly, just instead of searching in the text for a DC, put that over to the side so I know what that is. So it's probably a lot more than I actually need to do, which is, again, why I don't do it as often, because I just need to take a freaking chill pill.
Yeah, well, is that the biggest hurdle then? Have it feeling ready and prepared enough to start the game? Would you say?
Yes.
That yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I play with such great DMs at this point too, that I know it's not true that you don't always feel fully prepared and fully like ready for everything or anything. I'm holding myself to a high bar, and I don't want to let people down. And so I want the music to be perfect, and I want the maps to be perfect, and I want the NPCs in the background to be perfect. And in reality, it doesn't have to. I'm doing all this work for a lot of times, probably even just me, that people aren't noticing.
Yeah, I get that. A lot of the world building aspect from my side is mostly just for me.
Yep.
And I get that doing the NPCs and the lore and the background for your ones is probably a lot more for you than it will be for the players. Yeah. And I think learning like how you prep for one shots and your games, you'd be disgusted in how little preparation I do for my games. Because it's like, oh, there's a couple of bullet points, but it's all in my head. I just don't put it down, and so it's in there, and I sometimes have to recall it. But it's Yeah, you'd be horrified at the state of my desk. It's literally my screen, Foundry's open, and it's all in my brain from that
I
point.
My brain just can't handle that, right? I just
Yeah, yeah.
there are too many other tabs open in here that I can't shuffle to a tab quickly enough
I think
that I
Evelyn
feel
is
like I need
the
to have it.
same. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to have it down in front of me. I mean, even for example, anybody who's ever played with me, who has seen or heard the notes that I take, like, I've got a problem. I've
Yeah.
got a problem. And yeah. So I don't think that it would disgust me. I think it's just I'm envious. I'm very envious that
That you
that
can
people
like
can
just wing it.
function.
Yeah.
Yeah, people can function like that. And it's ironic because I feel like once I play a game, I think I don't want it to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but I think I'm really good at improv.
Yeah, fantastic, I would say.
I think that I'm really good at being able to go with the flow and come up with things on the spot. And that does come into play a lot in one shots, whether they're pre-written or ones that I've created on my own, because I have run things that I've created on my own for my family. But it's that getting started that I get. I mean, it makes sense because think of how long I just said it took for me to kind of learn how to play D&D before I played D&D. It took me a long time of being overwhelmed and just finally saying, screw it. I just have to do it. I just have to do it.
Yeah. To hear there's like a performance anxiety is the downfall of a lot of DMs. You can overthink really easy. But after you did that first session and you sort of broke that seal, how was that first session for you when you finally got to run it?
So it was great. The session was great. I do this thing, and I've done it with performing too, with singing, is that I'll come to the table or I'll come to the stage and I've got this alternative ego that comes out. She has a name. I'm not going to get into that, but she will go and she will perform. And then after the performance, I will start convulsing like I'm having some sort of fit. And I get so nervous because then Kristin comes back and Kristin is really self-conscious about what other people thought about it, which is weird because a lot of me as a person does not care about what other people think, but I think something that if you think about the prep and the anxiety that I have beforehand, going like, it comes down to, I think, feeling like I'm going to have let people down. Did I go through all of this and give people an experience that then they walked away from and went, I just wasted 4 hours of my life? And I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I coming from a musical background myself, exactly the same situation. When I'm on stage, it's not me on stage. It's this performer is on stage. It's that alter ego. Yep. It allows you to kind of disconnect from that situation and do it, fulfill it, and then once you're off stage, you kind of settle down and come back to yourself and then freak out about how it went.
Yeah, it's real like imposter syndrome too. Yeah. Like I feel like, okay, I took on this role, my friends want me to do it, and I want them to have fun, and I want to have fun with them. I'll do it. And then like, well, I mean, they're going to be nice to me at the end, right? Even if I sucked, you're going to be nice to me. And so can I really even trust the feedback that you gave me? Like, no matter how good I feel like it went, I'm always going to pick apart what I did, right? But I just, yeah. This is not a therapy session. We'll move on.
We will. What has been your favorite session to run then so far in your experience of running games? What's been the most standout game that you've run, and who was in it, and why does it stand out for you so much today?
Oh God. My brain started, and then you continued to talk, and then it reformulated everything. So I'm going to go with what just happened in my brain. So there's this one shot that I did not create that I've run a couple of times called All That Glitters is Gold. And because maybe it's written down, I only naively expected that kind of it would have a certain trajectory. And no matter how many times we played it, it would continue to go on in this way. And I learned immediately off of the second time that I ran it that like, this has to be what I do to every single person that I play with all the time. Like, you thought it was going one way, and then oops, somebody had an errant thought, and now we're going completely different way. During that one shot, there is a body to be examined, and the first time people just kind of looked at it and went through it, and then the second time somebody was asking like autopsy kind of questions, and who else lives by this person, and I went, oh god, and do you have a map of the city? And I'm like, oh my god, no. But of course I said yes. Of course I said yes, because, you know, and I'm like in the background kind of feverishly trying to put something together. And it's unfortunate that it's not like a specific player moment that happened. It just was very eye-opening to me. And I am very appreciative to have had that experience on the other side of the screen, you know?
Yeah.
The most fun I ever had was during the one that I did create, which is so obnoxious, the pumpkin spice one shot. The pumpkin spice witch comes to town and opens up a shop, which is like Starbucks, but not. And I got to create really annoying NPCs, and they really did their job.
Yeah,
at
it's great
annoying
having
people.
a situation like that. You can use those pop culture references and the sort
Yeah,
of typical stereotypes in order to play from it, and because you can relate to it directly,
yeah,
makes it really fun to kind of play out those scenarios. So I can understand why that one was a pretty good one, and definitely the thing a lot of players probably don't understand about the DM side. You have to kind of be a just a vast of knowledge, a jack of all trades and a master of none. You have to have no like knowledge of specifics about a lot of different subjects in order
yeah,
to play them out, because you don't know where your players are coming from, what questions they might have. So you have to have
right.
this general knowledge of like everything
Yep,
all at the same time, which is great for somebody who likes to learn stuff consistently, such as myself. And it's fun to research this kind of things because you learn new things. What's in that process? What's your favorite part of being on the DM side? Is it the learning the new lot of knowledge, or is it the actually playing on it and seeing what your players do? What's the most sort of standout, interesting thing for you as a DM?
the most interesting part for me is watching how people puzzle things out. And I love when they struggle a little bit to pick up what I'm putting down. On the other end of that spectrum, when I'm like, okay, I've fed you so much, you should be exploding at this point. Why aren't you just following the trail of breadcrumbs that I've put down in front of you, especially for a one shot, because it's not a campaign where we can attack this again next week. But I really have enjoyed the things that I've run a couple of times, watching how people approach it so differently. And challenge me in a way where, okay, I was expecting this thing, and that's what happened in the first group, and so that's, you know, similar to what's going to happen in the second group, and then I just have to pivot and completely go somewhere else because they've followed a different thread. I really, really enjoy also watching, and it's something I enjoy watching as a fellow player. I just it feels a little different as a DM though, but is watching people who I know. I know them, I know their personality, I know what they're like to play with, but then on the other side, watching them develop into a different person as they go along and play in the one shot. I think that's really cool to watch, because I think that kind of character development has to happen so much more quickly in a one shot because you don't have an extended campaign, and it doesn't always happen, which is fine too. But watching how the interactions start to fall together and create a vibe within the characters is really kind of cool. Love that.
Yeah, I found that pretty interesting myself to watch the characters, especially we started the Monday game again recently. Watching Chet and Lee bounce off each other was pretty interesting to me because
Yeah.
they're both rogue-like characters, who like a little bit of mischief, and then bouncing off each other and making it up on the spot and developing these characters at the point of them playing it was super interesting to watch them sort of bounce off each other like that.
You know what else I thought was really great is that they are both relatively quiet characters in general. And I think that the characters that they picked, and maybe because they're comfortable with each other, I don't know, that kind of brought themselves out of their oh my gosh,
I think
that's
so,
a tongue twister.
yeah.
Brought themselves out of their shells
Shells,
very quickly. It forced. It didn't seem forced though. It was very organic, but they were right in it from the start, and it was I love watching stuff like that.
I think we're going to get a lot of like bro shenanigans out of those two this campaign, which I'm looking forward to. It'll be pretty interesting. Speaking of campaigns, do you have any desire to run a campaign at any point?
That noise was obnoxious. It just happened. I'm sorry. So I have for months said that what I'm going to do, like the more I repeat it, maybe I'll actually do it. What I'm going to do is take that Lost Mines of Phandelver little short mini campaign, and I will run it again because it's comfortable, and I know at the end of the day, my kids aren't going to hate me. I would probably run it for them. Also, to be honest, it takes some work out of it because we deal with this dry erase map, and half the time I've got a bag of minis at this point, but in the beginning we would go and find this little like Mickey Mouse figurine that we had, and we'd use that, and then there was an Elsa, and there was a Harry Potter one because I am who I am, and so like those were the characters that were representative of our characters, even though they were nothing like who we were playing. But it takes a lot of that other work out. Like I don't have to worry about music. I don't have to worry about maps other than kind of drawing on a grid. And I can focus on being the DM and working that kind of stuff instead of all the other stuff that gives me stress to deal with. And making sure those tokens are hidden and these ones I can put out now. And why isn't the music coming when I set it to play as soon as I moved players to this page? And here's where you say Foundry is better than Roll20, but I can't even bring myself to go there.
I didn't say that. But also, if you're playing IRL, Tabletop Audio gives you is a fantastic resource. We're not sponsored.
Yeah. Nope.
By them yet. But if you want to reach out and give us a sponsor, we're open.
Yes.
But Tabletop Audio, fantastic tool for IRL play. It's just a continuous loop of different sounds, and you can select the environment. So whether you want dark horror, fantasy, whimsical, or like enchanted forest, it gives you all the categories. Great resource for anybody listening, playing games, IRL. I have yet to find a mod that will let me import those sounds into Foundry, but I'm sure there'll be an equivalent version of it somewhere.
One day.
Yeah, hopefully. Mm-hmm. To start winding down a little, Kristin, do you have any advice for DMs out there that are starting from a position like yourself?
Yeah, don't be like me and just do it. Really, I think my advice will probably be the biggest struggle that I have had has been time management, which is also true in real life. We actually were just having that conversation right before we started, right? Like time blindness, time management. Especially for me who loves the RP aspect. I don't want to stop it when it's happening. It's beautiful to watch. And if you are saying, oh, I've got this session that I have to be done with in 4 hours, you kind of have to move the story along, and I'm not great at that. So it's a goal of mine to work on, and I think that I know that I've gotten a lot better with that. I think my first one shot, several of them were multiple days because I just didn't know how to manage it. And I got great feedback from Lee, where what I did was anywhere the people wanted to go, I would put up a map for it. And so that would make them feel like there were things there to explore and things there to do. And he said, keep it to like 3 maps. And that's it. And actually, I think in the advice column in the newsletter, you just wrote something similar. Yeah, like you kind of have 3 sections that you deal with. And I would really kind of focus on that. But if you are like me, what I will do is before the game even starts, say, hey, if this gets to this point and we are not finished, would you mind either going over or would you prefer to reschedule it to another time to be able to finish it? Because at the end, you can very quickly go, okay, well, this is only going to be 20 more minutes, and 20 more minutes turns into 2 more hours because it's still just, they haven't, again, followed the trail of breadcrumbs, or they were enjoying the tavern a little too much and they have not finished what they were supposed to be doing. So I think advice would be, if you are not great with time management, to probably make that known to your players, which is great because transparency is amazing, and give them the opportunity so you don't feel that pressure at the end of it. Like, oh crap, I've either got to cut it short now or keep running. It takes that pressure off when you're winding down to the end of it.
Yeah. If that kind of skill comes with time and running it, and definitely getting to know the plays that you're running. And if you're running one shot and it's different plays each time, it can be difficult to judge how the session's going to go. So like in the newsletter this month, I used to do 3 encounters for one shot, and then each encounter is usually about 40 minutes long. So I know I'm going to get 3-ish hours, including the role play and bits in between, and it helps kind of limit the direction they can go. But you can read more about that on the newsletter.
Check out the newsletter. Where can we find it, Jason?
You can find it in the Wicked Cool Kids Productions channel page on the Discord. You can also find it on the website, where we got the links to these podcasts as well.
I think you've put it on Patreon too, didn't you?
Yes, it'll be uploaded on Patreon each month as well, so any Patreon subscribers will get direct access from there, as well as any tokens and stuff that I create. And this month we have a bunch of Christmassy tokens coming out with the newsletter. So it would be nice for some people to take those. Any DMs that want to run some Christmas one-shots, Kristin?
Yeah.
Can grab those tokens and start prepping some stuff.
Oh, no. I'll do it, probably. Maybe. I'll do it. I said I did it, unless this doesn't get recorded because I burn the evidence.
I've got 2 recordings. It'll be fine. But I think that is all for today's session. Thank you very much, Kristin, for coming here and just talking about your experience. I know there's a lot of young DMs out there that will be sort of reaffirmed that someone else is in the same position as them and can sort of build up that confidence over time, and they're not alone. We have a community, a great community, that will help support and help people build these kind of one-shots or games that they want to run and provide the opportunity to it. So thank you very much, Kristin.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening, everybody. And remember, if you can't be cool, be wicked.
Thank you.
Thank you to Kev G. Moore for providing the music for this series. Check out his links for YouTube, Spotify and Patreon in the links below. Wherever you found us today, don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content, and if you want to find out more about what we do, how to support us, pick up some merch and find links to our friends like JB Media, visit us at wickedcoolkids.co.uk.